What is your relationship with time? Are you wired and tired, stressed and overwhelmed, busy and going nowhere? Or just want to scale your business? Welcome to Take Back Time with your host, Penny Zenker. Penny focuses on books, strategies, tools, and tips to help you work smarter and approach your time more strategically. As a result, you can have more energy, focus, and get more done in less time. Be more efficient and effective. Get ready to take back time.
Hello and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zenker and I'm your host. And on this show, we're really focused on bringing you great strategies and tips on helping you to be more productive and to, as we say in the title, take back time, to create leverage today so you can create higher performance and higher results later. Today we have a great guest with us, Dr. Emily Letran. Did I say your name right, Emily?
Yes, that was correct.
Okay, perfect. So Emily is an international speaker. She's an author of several books and a radio show host as well. And she's a trainer in high performance. She's dedicated in helping business professionals and entrepreneurs to maximize their potential, both personally and professionally. She helps them to streamline their business, increase their profits, and win back time from work so they can enjoy more time with their family, their children, and pursuing other passions. And that's exactly what we're about here. So perfect to have you here. Emily is also, the business strategies that she shares is the result of being a CEO of several multi-specialty dental group practices for more than 20 years in Southern California. So she's bringing a whole host of experience so that we can really leverage and understand the tips and tricks that she has to offer today. So welcome, Dr. Emily. It's great to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so honored to be on your show, and thank you for creating the platform to share your expertise and for some of us to share our strategies on how to grow business and still staying pretty sane. So I'm really honored to be on the show.
That's what it's all about, right? We want to help people to get more without having to work harder in order to get it. So it's being more strategic in the way that we approach things.
Absolutely.
I think is of great value to people is today's show is going to be about how to avoid burnout. And this is a really important topic because I think it sneaks up on you. You think you're doing great, and then all of a sudden, wham, you're down and out because you're ill or something as a result of this burnout, whether it's physically or emotionally, and you're just lost. So yeah. Emily, what do you think causes burnout?
Well, I think one of the most common reasons why people get burnout is because they say yes too much. They may not even be a people pleaser kind of person, because those people always say yes. But sometimes you say yes to avoid conflict. You say yes just to get through the day. You say yes because you want to be a nice person. So I think when we say yes too often, we take on too many obligations that are really not productive for us, that may not be in alignment with what we're trying to do, that don't really help us get to our goals. That's when we experience symptoms of burnout. And basically we get stressed. We blame ourselves. How come we couldn't do all this? And we don't step back a little bit and just look at why we are so busy, why we don't have time for ourselves. As a mom, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners out there are business moms, we take care of the whole family first before we take care of us. And I can't tell you how many times in my dental chair, I would have the mom in the dental chair last, and the dad has already had his work done, and the kids have the work done, and the mom is last. So from a female point of view, sometimes because we grow up with that culture, so we take care of everybody else first before we do ours. And
Absolutely.
Then you experience burnout in that case.
Absolutely. I want to break that into two parts because there's a lot that we said there. So I like what you said about it's because we say yes too much. And I want to add there that I think that entrepreneurs, and a lot of our listeners are entrepreneurs, it's harder for them. And they do say yes, not just to avoid conflict. They think that it's opportunity, right? They say yes to every opportunity. And it's kind of like this spray and pray approach to prospecting. So they don't go through a proper qualification process. They don't have any rules and boundaries into what they say yes to. And they forget that when they say yes to something that they're at the end of the day either spreading themselves too thin or they're saying no to something else. And so I think for entrepreneurs, they really have to kind of do a word cleanse and say, try to avoid using yes and focus more on no.
What I was thinking that besides the fact that a lot of us entrepreneurs have that shiny object syndrome, we want to start something new. That looks good. That looks like it's easier. That's the faster way. We tend to go, along. And I think what helped most, especially for me, was to have mentor and coaches who kind of hold me back, right? And say, no, you said you were going to do this first. So don't jump to project B until you're done with A, right? Because I'm thinking I'll be able to do both at the same time. Getting some perspective. What's most important? What do I really have to do first before I do everything else? That's one way to hopefully not say yes so many times. And when I say avoiding conflict, I experience it myself, and I'm sure we all do. You're in the middle of the day, you're busy, and maybe one of your staff come up to you and say, well, Mrs. So-and-so say, can you just do this? And you're trying to do the other thing. You just say, okay, I'll do it. And so you're saying yes so that you don't have to stop and take care of that. You just kind of add it to your bucket. At the end of the day, everybody leaves and you're still there.
Because we said yes too often. Absolutely. And I understand the conflict aspect because it's also people don't want to, client calls up and it's not part of the scope of what you're doing for them and they want you to do something extra. And of course they needed it by tomorrow.
Right.
I've seen that in a lot of instances where clients that I'm working with have that as an issue. And I tell them that respectfully, it's okay to ask questions and to say no. And to also, because we set a precedence there, if we say yes all the time, then people are going to expect us to say yes versus if we say, I'm sorry, I don't have enough time in order to prepare that properly. And this takes approximately X amount of time and attention. I'd love to take a look deeper into what your needs are so that we can either split it out into pieces or we can schedule an appropriate delivery date for that, right? It's okay to say no in a professional way.
In my practices for the past 26 years, now I have my staff make an appointment with me if they want to talk to me, because it used to be when they just said, can I just ask you one quick question? Can I have a moment with you? And the next thing you know is you give them a moment of 5 minutes, but your brain stay there and stay on that subject where you go on to see another client, another patient. And so it's actually a distraction. So again, saying yes just because they just want a moment, but it actually takes more than that moment of time from me, myself, my concentration, my focus. So one way to not say yes is to tell people to book an appointment, right? To set up a time. And you can still look at it and say, I will make this appointment. This is something maybe you can see my office manager, right? This is something that maybe you can talk to the IT person and you don't really have to see me. And I think for a lot of us entrepreneurs, kind of like we don't have any buffering, right? They call, immediately get us. They send an email and it's us. So whether you say yes or not, you're still answering to that. You're answering to people's agendas, right? If you check your email.
Right. And it's not your agenda. It's their agenda.
Right. Because they want this and that. What I see, and I experience it myself, you go through that a lot, then you feel overwhelmed. It may not come out as burnout, right? But you feel overwhelmed. You hate checking, you hate opening the email. You're logging in and you see 50 emails waiting for you, or whatever it is that your regular task. Whereas if you have your own agenda and you set your own priorities, whatever come in for the day that don't fit into that, you don't have to address it. You may just delegate it or you have it on the side. I'm looking at this, there's an email, but has nothing to do with what I need to do today. I'm not even going to open it.
Right. And hopefully you don't even get it in your inbox because you're qualifying and, as you said, buffering things, creating systems that help to keep it out of your inbox.
Right.
So one thing that you're saying creates burnout is saying yes and the overwhelm that creates. What's another thing that creates burnout?
Prioritizing. Sometimes we do have a lot to do. I work with, like my CPA, for example, right? He always say, after April 15, I'm taking off a week and nobody know where I am. He just has to go high because of all the things that are building up. And I would have this conversation with him. I would say, why is it that 1 week before April the 15th, you won't sleep? Because you allow people to send things in last minute. Because you're not prioritizing. For example, if you give the clients a deadline, your staff need to be here at this time. or I'm going to charge you extra, right? Just for example.
Or you file an extension.
Right. Or you file an extension, whatever it is. But because we serve people and we don't set priorities for ourselves, that we end up getting burned out. And it's not that we trying to please people like the first part or say yes, like I said, but it's because now we're dealing with us. We're the one that we're not protecting our time enough. We're giving it away to work. We're giving it away to clients. And then we're the ones suffering the consequences.
Well, I heard you say two things, right? Is that we need to be able to prioritize. Otherwise, we can.
Distractions are the enemy of productivity. Go to distractionquiz.com and find out your distraction profile. Are you a time zombie or a hamster? Take this free distraction quiz today to rate your ability to focus on what keeps you from being a wizard. Go to distractionquiz.com.
Can become overwhelmed with too many urgent items that need to be done with equal priority. And the other thing that I understood it to be around is rules and boundaries. If you have a commitment that somebody has to have it done by a certain date, then there's consequences. And the rules and boundaries are setting those rules so that people know what they are, and then actually having people follow through and receive the consequences if they don't get it in that time, right? Not making that their lack of priority your over priority, your urgency.
Right. And that's usually the conversation that I have first with people that I'm working with is, the clarity piece, understanding you first, understanding how you operate, understanding your goal, your values, what's most important to you. And then you create your work and your life kind of based on that. And when something come in that disrupt that is not in alignment, it's just a lot easier to say, you know what, I'm not doing this because this is not me. This doesn't fit in. And if you want to take on more, then you delegate, right? You bring in a team member. You have an expert help you. And so that way, even though you're growing, you're not getting overwhelmed. I was in a position where, like in 3 years, I bought 3 dental offices. It was, and that's a discussion of another time. I was able to handle all that. But looking back, why the heck did you do that?
Right.
And again, it has to do with here's the opportunity. It comes up. Let's go ahead and take that opportunity. And then trying to grow to match all of those challenges was a big challenge. And that's one of the things, that's how I learned in a way to manage my time and manage people because of those challenges that I take on earlier in my life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We can share that experience, right? We don't want other people to have to make the same mistakes we made.
Right, exactly.
So what are some of the symptoms? How do I know that I am headed for burnout?
Well, I think a lot of time when you have burnout, you don't have enough sleep, you're tired, you lose your concentration when you're tired, you don't manage your energy due to being burnt out, you start forgetting things. I had an office manager who used to work with me, and she would book patients for me in 2 offices at the same time. And I'm looking at it and I go, okay, this is not going to work out. And later on, she actually left due to having burnout, and it wasn't so much work. She just had a lot of family things on. So to me, people who start getting forgetful, not being able to finish what they started, and it's not their pattern, right? They're tired, they're frustrated. Sometimes they get cranky. Sometimes they get upset for no reason. They complain. Obviously, sometimes people just complain that,
right.
I don't feel well. I feel like I'm getting sick. And then they start taking medicine, whatever medicine. And they don't realize that the first thing they need to step back and look at is really how they run their life.
So true.
And I also have friends. We talk to them and, I'm so busy. I work through lunch, and I would say, you can be doing this. I know as a young doctor, yes, you may be able to do that when you first start out, but you need to take care of your body. You need to take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't serve anyone. I think one of the signs of getting burnout is you lose your routine. You just start doing whatever to take care of whatever in front of you. You compromise your routine, and then you affect your health. So it may not show up as you're tired or anything like that. You're not your regular self. Sometimes when I have that conversation with my friends, I can already tell them, you got to slow down. And they said, but I feel fine. I said, but you still have to slow down, because when you start getting, quote, lost a little bit in your way, I think you're already heading down to that path of being burnout.
Yeah, I really like that when you start to compromise your routines and your regular practices, that's a recipe for, I don't want to say disaster, but for burnout. And that makes total sense, because what gets thrown off in the routine? It's usually our self-care. Like you said, sleep suffers. So that's a really great perspective. I haven't heard that before, and I really like that. So to our listeners, and I have to take note of that too, because I could say that I have been compromising my routine somewhat in the last couple of months, and it's going to give me a pause to step back and really think about that, whether that means that I'm out of control or whether it's a controlled deviation. But definitely room for thought. And I suggest that everybody listening does the same thing. Are you ingrained in a routine? Have you ever been? And because when we have our routines, we are setting ourselves up for success, because it's purposeful. Routine is the way that I see this. I'm interested in your opinion on this, Emily, that a routine is better than a habit, because a habit is something that's typically unconscious. So it's not really always purposeful, but a routine is intentional, right? It's very purposeful, and it gets you to where you want to go. What's your opinion on that?
Oh, yes. Actually, intentional is one of my favorite words, because just like you said, a habit, you're just going it through unconsciously. This is the time that I eat, and this is the time that I go to bed, kind of thing. But when you're being very intentional about it, then you say, this is the time that I need to eat lunch so I can function for the last half of the day, right? This is the time that I need to go to sleep, so tomorrow I'm fresh and I'm ready to serve my clients or my patients or my kids. And when it's being intentional and you think about it, when people start distracting you from that routine, you will get bothered. Yeah. No, this is the time when I'm doing this. And that doesn't mean that, don't be flexible, because there's always going to be exceptions. But be flexible in that moment, and then you go right back to your intentional routine, because you know that that's how you can be most productive. And I think a lot of sometimes people would tell me, well, I don't feel burnout. I've been doing this now for so many years. I'm doing pretty good. I don't see why I have to get any better. And my question to them there is, are you fulfilling your God-given potential? Because even though you think you're doing pretty well, but could you give yourself a 10 out of 10 based on your God-given potential? Not comparing yourself to the guy down the street, but do you think that you actually are at your best? And a lot of time when people think of it like that, most of us will not give ourselves a 10, 10 out of 10 on that. And then you have to look at, okay, where can I change to get to that 10 or 9.5 or wherever you want to go? Or if you think you're at a 6, what can I do to get to a 7? And then if you're at a 7, what can I do to get to an 8? And you're always in that search, that quest to get better for your own sake. It's not to impress other people. It's not to do anything else but to serve yourself, to fulfill your goal, to serve your patients, your clients, to take care of your family. When you're not at your best, you can serve other people at your best.
Absolutely. Somebody once told me that great thing for entrepreneurs to do is to ask them if they'd hire themselves, right? Same kind of thing, or really reaching your potential. You want to hire somebody that really is going after the potential, that has the mindset and the determination and commitment that's required to be successful. And it's a good question to ask yourself, is not just the one that you asked, which is, are you reaching your highest potential? Also, at a different level, would you even hire yourself, right?
Right. Well, when we say it like that, we probably will hire ourselves.
I know a lot of people that wouldn't. If they took a really good look at what they do and the way that they do it, I dare say that more than 50% of the people, if they were honest with themselves, would not hire themselves. But hey, that's just a gauge.
Right.
So we're coming down to the end of the time that we have together. So tell us, what are some quick tips? I know you've got a gift for people as well, so everybody should stay on and pick up your free gift. But just real quick to recap either what you've already said that were tips or tips that you want to leave people with, what are the top 3 tips to avoid burnout?
Okay. So for me, it's to go through a couple little exercises. The first one is I want them to ask themselves a very simple question and give a rating from 1 to 10. Mm-hmm. When was the last time you put yourself first? So you can give yourself a score there. And obviously the higher score, the better. And if you can't think of the last time you take care of yourself first, then it should be a 0.
Okay.
And there's a lot of work that needs to be done there.
Uh-huh.
The second thing is I like for them to write down all the activities that they do in a day, like your regular activities, and put a check mark next to the one that is income producing. And hopefully everything you write down, you can put a check mark next to them. And if you don't have any check mark or you have very little check mark, then you need to look at why is it that you're doing all the other things that are not actually producing income. But this is where you're saying yes to everything. You're helping out with everything. You take over other people's work, but it's not a direct reflection of producing income for you.
It's not important. They're not important to your business.
Yeah, it's not important. And I would say the third thing to avoid burnout is to learn how to manage your energy. I think a lot of us, we start out fresh and early and we all vibrant and we're go-getters, and by about 3 p.m, we're tired. I see people drinking Coke, drinking coffee, falling asleep, getting snacks, and being able to manage your energy, meaning you take frequent breaks in the day. Maybe you close your eyes because you've been staring at the computer for the past 3 hours. Maybe you take a 2-minute break and you do a little meditation. Learning those little strategies to maintain your energy and to rejuvenate yourself would help you go through the day and still have the energy. So by the time you get home at 7 p.m. at night, you still want to hang out with your kids. You still want to talk to your husband. I mean, sometimes I go home and I still cook. And it's because you maintain that energy throughout the day. And I think a lot of us take energy for granted until we get sick. Then we realize that energy is very important. And it's something that you have to, again, being very intentional and guarding it, like watching the news, right? Because it'll take some of your energy and it's negative energy.
Oh, I totally agree with that. I don't watch the news because it's negative energy. Yeah, totally agree. Energy is everything in my book. That's where you start and that's where you end.
Right. And I think most of us don't think of it. We take it for granted. We're still younger, we're healthy, and we're just gonna expend our energy whichever way we want. But if you get to going back to having a routine where you take those breaks, where you drink a lot of water, where you know that you're that tired, you need to go to sleep now and not trying to finish whatever the last thing is on your plate, then you're going to be much better off in the long run. Because if you're just running on a low battery all the time and you don't find time to recharge, at some point that battery is going to be dead.
That's right.
And you won't be able to really do what you love to do.
Perfect. Well, so tell us where people can reach you and what you have for the guests.
Oh, yes. Thank you. People can find me on my website, dremilyletran.com. So that's DREMILYLETRAN.com. And I have a free book. It's an ebook that shares my story, how I came to this country as a refugee, overcome challenges and go on and have my practices. And I also share my strategies on how to grow my business. So they can either text to 21777. They can text the word FAST, F-A-S-T, or online they can go to exceptionalleverage.com/business report.
Great. We'll have the links below the podcast so that they can download it.
Yeah. And I would love to connect to the audience. People may have questions and they're wondering if they're doing too much or too little or they're heading down on the road of burning out. I think we've all been through that. The ones that come out successful are the ones that realize that you're on that path of going to burnout, and we put in the work to work on ourselves, to relieve the stress, to be more productive, and to always have that goal, living up to your potential without sacrificing your personal life.
And it is all possible, just in case people are feeling like it's not. It is possible.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, Dr. Emily. It was awesome to have you here and to share your tips and tricks around burnout. Is there anything else that you want to share with the audience before we sign off?
No, I'm grateful for the opportunity to come on and share that. And I recommend everybody to just step back and take some time to evaluate what they do on a daily basis, whether it's in their personal life or in their business life, and just make sure that you only do what's most important to get you to your goal.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And for all of you who are listening, thank you for being here. And I'm sure that you took away at least one nugget. I know I did, in really looking at how I might be, when I compromise my routine, that I might be on a track away from my best and fastest success. So think about that. Think about when you take a step back, where you could be on the road to burnout, and think about the tips that were provided here that might help you to really see where you are on burnout and help you, again, to this theme of this podcast is to take back time. So to take a step back and to see how your systems and your approach and your practices are focusing on the most important things in your business to drive your business forward, to create more profits and to create more time for you to have with your family and other pursuits and passions that you have, because it's not all about business, right? To have that balanced life. So thank you all for being here. My name is Penny Zanker. I'm your host, and this is Take Back Time. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening. Today's topic is another opportunity for you to put the knowledge you learned into practice. Tune in again next week for more strategies that will help you have more energy and focus to get more done in less time, so you can continue to take back time.